The wild boars had a guardian. Deep in the mountains of Laos, where thick forests swallow the sunlight and steep cliffs scrape the sky, there was once a village hidden from the modern world. The Hmong people who lived there relied on the land, the plants, and sometimes the hunt to survive. But in those forests, not everything belonged to humans. Some things had guardians, some things had owners, and some debts are paid not in blood alone, but in consequence. This is a true tale passed down in whispers and warnings, a story the elders still remember. The wild boars had a guardian. Pause. Soft forest ambience. The story. It was the year 1975. Deep in the jungles of Laos, a large herd of wild boars, nearly 30 in number, roamed freely through the mountains and valleys. To the villagers, this was an unbelievable blessing. The boars fed families, filled cooking fires, and helped people survive harsh seasons. Hunting them had become almost routine. But beyond the hunt, beyond the food, there lived two elderly herbal healers in the village. An old man and his wife, known as Grandfather and Grandmother Lao Su. They were respected by everyone. For many years, they walked the forest paths in search of rare medicinal plants, climbing steep rocks and wandering near dangerous cliff edges. Time had not been kind to the old man's sight. One of his eyes had gone blind, so he could no longer travel alone. Instead, he followed closely behind his wife, who still had eyes as sharp as an eagle's. One afternoon, as the sun leaned toward the west, the couple arrived at a great cliff face. The wind howled against the stone, and birds circled high above. Suddenly, the old woman stopped. High up on the cliff, growing from the cracks, was a rare and precious medicinal herb, one that could save lives. "Wait here," she told her husband. "I will climb up and get it." He begged her to be careful, but age had weakened her body, and as she climbed, her hands slipped. In an instant, she fell from the cliff and struck the ground below, dying there at its base. His cries echoed through the forest. From that day forward, everything changed. Hunters began to notice something strange. At twilight, just before night claimed the forest, a woman's voice could sometimes be heard drifting between the trees, softly calling out to the boars. And the boars would obey. They would vanish. They would hide. They would not show themselves when hunters waited. Yet on nights when no one stood guard over the cornfields, the boars would come again, feasting freely. But when hunters watched and waited with guns in hand, not a single hoofstep could be seen. No fresh tracks, no rustling leaves, no sound. The villagers began to whisper the truth to one another. Grandmother Lao Su had become their guardian. From then on, every hunter who wished to kill a boar had to go deep into the forest, light incense beneath the banyan trees, and pray, "I ask for just one boar to feed my family." And if the heart was pure, the promise honest, one boar would be found, two, sometimes three, but never more. And no one ever dared to ask for more than they truly needed. The herd continued to grow, and the balance of the forest remained until the year 1982. That year, a hunter named Sai Liu moved his cornfield close to the cliffs where the boars were known to dwell. One day, he and his children saw the massive herd devouring their crops. Instead of fear or respect, arrogance filled his chest. "I will not beg an old ghost in the forest," he said proudly. "I will wipe them all out today." He held up his M16 rifle. "I will hide in the narrow mountain pass. You children will drive the boars toward me. Once they reach the gap, I will open fire. They will have no way to escape." His plan was ruthless, but clever. The path was too narrow to turn back. The cliff was too high to climb. The fall was sure death. Everything was set. The children drove the boars toward the cliff passage, and as they came charging through, panic in their eyes, Saliu pulled the trigger. Bullets ripped through the herd. One by one, the boars behind, unable to stop, leapt off the cliff to their deaths. Within minutes, the ancient herd was gone. Every single one. Victorious, Saliu shouted down, "Bring knives and baskets! Come butcher the meat!" His children hurried away, celebrating. When they returned with the villagers, carrying tools and baskets, laughter filled the air. But when they reached the base of the cliff, Their joy vanished. Among the bodies of the dead boars lay their father, broken,